Hello all, welcome to DevOps Sticky channel. So in this channel mostly we are covering DevOps related content, both conceptual, regular real-time hands-on plus scenario based plus interview based questions, right? So as part of our daily discussions, today I come up with Terraform interview questions. Terraform real-time scenario based interview questions. Actually, this is part 2, guys. Part 1, I already shared 20 questions in the last video. If you didn't watch it, please go through my channel and subscribe so that you will be notified if I upload new content. These already I shared 20 questions in part 2. I already shared 20 questions in part 1. This is part 2 where I am sharing a rest of the 20 questions. These questions are a collection of my own experience plus ChatGPT plus a LinkedIn post also. Some of my friends in my surroundings, the people who are working as DevOps engineer attended some of the interviews. So from them I collected. So these are like own real-time scenario based questions only. If you're working on Terraform, you will understand, like from these 40 questions only you can able to cover all the conceptual things along with scenario based. So straightly coming to the topic, the next question, the first question in the part 2, is a resource already exists in AWS, but Terraform tries to recreate it again. How would you fix this issue? So while we are need to create any provision new infrastructure, while we are yeah, applying Terraform apply, then uh, it will create the resource which already exists in AWS. Then how would you fix this issue? This is the question, guys. 22nd one, that is second question in this patch 2. How would you share Terraform outputs such as load balancer DNS name with application deployment pipelines? In this question they are asking like, there is output you will get, right, post Terraform apply, then those outputs, for example if it's a load balancer DNS name with application deployment pipelines, how would you share? 23rd question, what would you do if Terraform apply hangs due to cloud provider API issues? So mostly Terraform will work on APIs, right? So for suppose the cloud provider you are using is AWS, then when you are applying Terraform apply, you are unable to reach to that AWS account, then what will be happen? Then what is your action item? Coming to next question, how would you manage different variable values? Like we have couple of environments, right? Dev, QA, pre-prod and prod environments as well. Then how will you differentiate these variable values? Are you use same or different state files? How the managing of the infrastructure will happen? That is asking here. Coming to next one, your Terraform code must comply with security standards. How would you validate it before deployment? Did you introduce any Terraform validate? That is about infrastructure, right? But here the thing is about how would you comply with the security standards. Coming to next question, how would you use Terraform with Kubernetes to provision infrastructure and deploy applications? As everyone know, Terraform is for provisioning the infrastructure and we are deploying the applications in EKS clusters, where whatever the things you are using, if it's a GKE or something, it's, but how would you use Terraform with Kubernetes? How you are deploying the applications using Terraform? Is it through CI/CD pipeline? How? What is the approach you guys are following in your project? This is this question about. Coming to the next one, what approach would you use to provision infrastructure in multiple AWS regions? As we know, in the AWS we have regions and availability zones concept, right? So how, which approach you gonna choose to provision infrastructure in the multiple AWS regions? So our application is not strictly bound to one region or one availability zone, right? For to have the availability of applications, some projects may use different regions, different availability zones. Then which, what is the approach you will follow to provision the infrastructure in multiple AWS regions? And coming to next one, how would you enforce tagging standards across all resource created by Terraform? So if the infrastructure is provisioned by Terraform, then what are the standards of tagging for the each resource you are following in the Terraform? Might you need to concentrate on this question more compared to remaining, because this is the question seems something different, right? Rest of the questions is about modules or .fvars or state files or about commands, about the drift. Everything is like interlinking related to cloud provider, plugins, API, as we know everything, but how this tagging will be happened. And coming to next one, a teammate manually changed the remote backend configuration. How would you identify and resolve the issue? We have remote backend for the state file, right? So without losing, without overwriting the state file in the local, we are maintaining in the state file in the remote backend with the DynamoDB log, right? So that no one will override, no one will interrupt, that we don't lose if we have this configuration versioning is enabled. But a teammate manually changes the remote backend configuration itself, then how will you identify and how will resolve the issue, and how will you prevent this of occurrence in the future? This is the question here. Coming to next one, during an interview, explain the complete workflow from Terraform init to Terraform apply using a real world deployment example. If they are asking for what are the commands you're gonna use in your project, is it a Terraform init, is it a Terraform plan, is it a Terraform refresh, is it a Terraform apply, is it a Terraform validate, whatever it is, how, what is the workflow, complete workflow from end to end, that you need to be prepared in the using one real world deployment example what you have experienced in your current project. And then how would you implement a blue green infrastructure deployments using Terraform? So as everyone know, this is the deployment strategy, blue green deployment strategy for having the application zero downtime with high availability, right? So blue green means we are having two identical environments. Current is the blue, next upcoming version is, new version is green. So everything is tested, then only we are changing the application service from blue to green. Like end users needs to access the green environment, that is new version environment. But with this we are having two identical environments, so the cost is very high compared to remaining. The here question is how would you implement this blue green deployment strategy using the Terraform? Means you need to identical means how will you provision using this Terraform, what's happening, how you are deploying, everything you need to cover here. And what is your strategy for managing Terraform module versions in enterprise environments? How will you manage all the module versions in your enterprise environments? Coming to next thing, how would you handle infrastructure drift discovered during a production audit? So you have a production audit, there you find an infrastructure audit is discovered. How would you handle this drift? How would you do for this drift? It was discovered during the production audit. And then what would happen if two engineers run Terraform apply simultaneously? If you and me are two engineers who are working for our XYZ project, then we are working on the same pipeline, so we trigger the same pipeline. If if suppose, for suppose, just ignore the pipeline here. If you and me both apply Terraform apply, is it accept your changes or my changes? Is it work for my infrastructure changes or it works for your infrastructure changes? If no means how you are locking. Like if suppose I applied Terraform apply first, then it needs to show you like someone already logged this. How you will you get it? So guys, we have Terraform remote backend with the DynamoDB log. So while one person is applied Terraform apply, then second person if he try to do Terraform apply also, he will get like a log ID the person this was using by some other. So if you want to delete unlock that, you need to use Terraform force unlock ID like that. So how would you achieve this thing? What are the configurations backend you are applying for? What is the remote backend exactly? Is it S3 if it's related to AWS? So these things you need to understand. Coming to next one, what would you integrate Terraform with Jenkins or GitHub Actions or GitLab CI/CD in a real project? If you're working cleanly on any project with respect to Terraform, how your integration with Jenkins or GitHub Actions or GitLab? So what is the integration part? How you integrated? What's happened behind? If you are doing some Terraform in it like that, how you are triggering the pipeline? Everything it needs to understand. How would you provision an EKS cluster and deploy applications automatically using Terraform? As we know, Terraform is for provisioning infrastructure automatically, right? So how would you provision EKS cluster and deploy the applications? Coming to 37th one, how would you perform cost optimization checks before provisioning resource? You are provisioning resource, okay, you are doing automation, okay, you are not encouraging any manual interventions, you are not encouraging to hard code anything, but ultimately as a DevOps engineer you need to have in mind that about cost optimization, zero downtime, high availability. So as we are getting zero availability, zero downtime, sorry, high availability, then how you are performing cost optimization before provisioning any resources from Terraform? This is the question. How would you structure Terraform repositories for a large enterprise with hundreds of projects? So if there are hundreds of projects, then how would you differentiate the Terraform repositories for each project? How would you identify each project with those names or repositories like that? Coming to next one, what monitoring and alerting would you implement for Terraform managed infrastructure? As everyone knows, state will have the all the infrastructure. While we have plan, it will compare actual and a desired state, and it will create or delete or modify based on the thing we want to be provisioned from Terraform. But how you will be monitor and alerting the infrastructure which was provisioned and managed by Terraform? Last one in our part 2 video, describe a real production incident involving Terraform and how would you troubleshoot and resolve it? If you are getting any production incident which involves completely related to Terraform, because you are provisioning the infrastructure and managing the infrastructure through Terraform only. So in this case, is there any real time scenario? If it's there, what is the troubleshooting things, how we need to fix, and how would be prevent for the occurrence in future? So these are the next 20 questions which we are discussing in part 2. If you need part 1 video, just go to DevOps Techie channel and subscribe and see. I have created different playlists as well for each tool, like I created till now Jenkins, Docker, and hope so Terraform, and for Gate. So do check out my channel and subscribe so that you will be notified if I upload new content related to DevOps. So my next action item is like for these 40 Terraform interview questions, I want to prepare answers as well. So in part 1, part 2, I am preparing only the real time scenario based interview questions, right? So for this I want to prepare answers as well. Based on the time permits, I will come up with more. Please subscribe and like, share. this DevOps Sticky channel. Thank you, everyone.